Good morning, you guys. I'm just getting all the ingredients first. Here's the ingredient list. If you go to Twitter, I listed everything that you need, including substitutions. I'm just gonna get everything out and then we'll get baking. This is what I like to use. It's called a bench scraper, but if you guys don't have one of these, you can use a sharp knife too. Hey, Harsh Duality, thank you for the resub. Oh my gosh, 16 months. Dang. Baking stream, I know, yes. 4 tablespoons. If you guys look at the side of a stick of butter, it actually like has the measurements on here. So you can just cut it if you have your bench scraper. Otherwise, you can cut it with a knife, and we're gonna warm that up. But for now, we'll just leave it on the counter. We're only gonna be using part of a can of pumpkin. So you might wanna have a container that you can put the rest of it into. I actually have a recipe that I can post later that uses 1 can of pumpkin minus the amount that we're using for the biscotti this morning for pumpkin cinnamon rolls. So make sure you save the rest of that. I usually just put the rest of the pumpkin in a jam jar that I've washed out. It's like the perfect size. And I think I'm actually gonna make a coffee first too, because I haven't had coffee yet. I was just like setting up for this and like lugging all of my stuff to the kitchen. So I'm gonna make an instant really quick and then we'll get started. The bowl that you need is actually not too big. I use like a kind of like medium sized one. It's about the same size as a bag of flour. Oh, and then either a spoon or an electric mixer. I finally got an electric mixer. I'm very happy with it. You have an electric mixer too? Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. It's like one of those quality of life things that you like don't realize how big of a deal of it is until you actually have it, and it's so much better. I feel so bougie saying that I have an electric mixer, but you know. Okay, coffee first. Can confirm it's true, right? It makes a big difference. All right. So anytime you're baking something vegan, if it calls for a flax egg, I did put a substitution for baking stuff, not for cooking. That's a whole different beast. But if you don't have flax, you can use 3/2 tablespoon vegetable oil plus 3/2 tablespoon water plus 1 teaspoon baking powder. So if you can't find flax at your local grocer, which a lot of places have it now, you can always substitute that. But I like using flax because it's really good for you. And it's that good fiber, moral fiber, eh? So we're gonna use 1 tablespoon flax. One of the things I love about making biscotti is it's extremely forgiving. So if you don't use a knife to level all of your measures, you're gonna be just fine. So we're gonna just estimate that. I shook it until it was no longer a heaping tablespoon. And then what makes flax magical is that it will absorb hot water and kind of puff up and become really gummy, which emulates the egg white. So we're going to use 3 tablespoons of really hot water. So if you have a kettle on for tea or coffee in the morning, you can use that. Otherwise, I'm just going to microwave some water. Usually if you microwave it, depending on the strength of your microwave, around 90 seconds, that will be hot enough to make the flax gummy. While we're waiting for the water to heat up, we can measure out our 4 tablespoons, which is a 1/2 stick of plant butter. You can just cut right through this paper too. But sometimes the measurements are a little bit off. Like here, at the factory, they sealed it at the 1/2 mark instead of on the whole mark. So just make sure if it's on the 1/2 that you measure over 4 times from the 1/2 instead of 4 times from the whole. That's it. And then if you save the paper from the 1/2 that you're not using, you can actually just use that to wrap the other 1/2. It will keep it fresh a little bit longer. I don't know how fast you guys go through butter in your house. I don't eat a whole lot of butter, so I always make sure I wrap it. And I'm just gonna set the butter on my pan because I'm going to use the butter that I just measured to butter my pan before I melt it. So it's kind of like wrapping a present. You just want to get the paper all over the exposed part of the butter, and that will keep it from oxidizing. Now that our water is literally steaming hot, we can add it to the flaxseed. No, Jack, I put up a bun. I'm not wearing a hat today, sorry. If you redeem it, I'll save it for tomorrow. I gotta have my hair out of the way when I'm baking, otherwise I will get butter and flour in it. So we're gonna add 3 tablespoons of hot water to our 1 tablespoon of flax. And kind of just pour it so you get all the flax submerged in the super hot water. I live at high altitude. If you guys live at sea level or close to sea level, 3 tablespoons is going to be enough. Because I live at high altitude, I'm adding an extra tablespoon. If you live close to 5,000 or 6,000 feet, you might want to do the same thing. And using the same cup that we just microwaved the water in, we're going to microwave our butter just until it's soft. I know a lot of places say don't do that, you need to leave it out overnight, but I'm a last minute baker, so I have found that if you microwave it slowly in like 10-second increments, it's not going to change the consistency to the point where it's going to affect your bake. So we're going to just butter the pan that we're going to bake on. Make sure you butter it really well because we're actually going to make this super easy, and instead of like taking the biscotti off and cutting it, we're going to cut it directly on the pan. So you want to make sure that you have a lot of slide. And then the rest of this we will microwave. Do you have to butter the baking tray? You can try using grease-proof paper. It might not turn out as crispy. I love parchment. Parchment is my friend. But for the biscotti, if you put it directly on a buttered tray, it will crisp the bottom in a more crunchiness. Crunch words. Hey housewife, we're making pumpkin biscotti. I know we're microwaving the butter. It's okay. No one panic. It's absolutely fine. Also, because we're cutting the biscotti straight on the pan, it might be a little bit tricky to keep your parchment from wrinkling or from ripping. So yeah, you probably just want to butter this time. Most of the time I would say use the parchment. Yeah, I'm gonna do like, I don't know, 20 seconds, and then I kind of swirl it. I see if it's melted. If it's not, I do a little bit more, and we go from there. The reason it's popping is because we already used the cup for the water for the flax. It doesn't actually separate. Maybe cow butter would separate, but the plant butter does not separate. Does the paper the butter is wrapped in have metal in it? Well, I don't know, but we're not microwaving it in the paper. Roland, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Hope you're having a good day. Welcome, welcome. I know, it's not the same as melting it. And if you melt it in a pan and you brown it, that helps reduce the liquid content. That makes it even crispier, but it takes a lot longer. This is the easy way. And I honestly can't tell the difference. You could wash out your coffee mug, or you can save this and make bullet coffee. Backseating even the baking stream. Yeah, we removed the paper, so it does not matter. We're all good. We're being safe here. All right, so far we have our flax, we have our hot water, we have our melted vegan butter. We're gonna add half a cup of pumpkin puree, and we're gonna save the rest of the pumpkin in our empty jam jar. I know, people love backseating. It's fine. Everyone has their like different way of doing everything, and that's fine because we're all unique and special. And I have done like brown butter cookies before. I think it's a lot of faff. I can't taste the flavor difference that much. Maybe other people just have a more sensitive butter palate than I do. You wish someone would backseat you. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. This, you do want to be a little bit more exact because pumpkin is kind of like a liquid measure just because it has such a high liquid content. And then again, save the rest of this. We'll put it in the jar later and put it in the fridge. Not only can you use it to make cinnamon pumpkin rolls, but you can also just take like a tablespoon in the morning, throw it in your hot coffee, add some pumpkin spice, and it's like OG pumpkin spice coffee without like all the syrup and additives. It's really good. And, I'm gonna do like the sugar blend method where we add like all of our sugars and non-raising agents to the wet mix. You don't have pumpkin, you replaced it with almonds. You replace flour with almonds, with almond meal. I don't know about replacing the pumpkin with it. So I'm gonna go a 1/3 cup coconut sugar and a 1/3 cup brown sugar, but if you don't have coconut sugar, you can just do all brown sugar. You might have to bake it a little bit longer because brown sugar has a higher water content than coconut sugar. I like coconut sugar because it's slightly crunchier and crispier in the final bake. It also has a lower glycemic index, so you can eat more biscotti without feeling bad about it or without feeling like you have a sugar high. But feel free to replace all of it and just do 2/3 cup brown sugar if you want. Also, if you see any huge clumps, which will sometimes happen in darker sugars because of the higher liquid content, kind of just break those up first. I know some people will like sift it or do other faff. I just kind of break it in the bag. If I were making cookies that were really delicate, I would probably put it, like put a fork through it just to get all the clumps out. But for biscotti, they're so crunchy anyway, no one's gonna notice that they get like a little sugar crystal that's larger than the rest. And some people pack their brown sugar. I feel like that's also highly unnecessary. I know it changes the volume. I just measure over a little bit to make up for that. It's all about keeping the volume similar. And make sure you seal your brown sugar really well. Otherwise, you'll come back to find rock candy. 5 teaspoon pumpkin spice. Or if you weren't able to find pumpkin spice, you can also make your own by adding 2 teaspoons cinnamon, plus 1/2 teaspoon nutmeg, plus a sprinkle of cloves. The cloves are optional. They are extremely pungent, so a little bit goes a long way. But I just do 5/2 teaspoon pumpkin spice. I like doing stuff in house because it fits in the jar. And then you don't have to shake it out into something else. And again, not an exact science. Try not to go too much over because then I'll be really strong. If you go a little bit over on one, you can go a little bit under on the next. Oh my God, it smells so good. And then I also add the salt to my wet ingredients. I know it's not a wet ingredient, but I feel like it blends really well with it. That way you don't get a part that's super salty. So 1/2 teaspoon salt. And this you really don't want to go over because it'll make it taste more savory. Nutmeg and cinnamon, check. Yeah, my favorite. All right, so we're gonna mix this either by hand if you have a spoon or with your electric. Make sure you always start on low. That doesn't sploosh all over. And then you can bump it up. Oh, did I forget do I not add, did I take out the vanilla just because I love vanilla, but it's not actually in here? I did, that's so funny. I go through vanilla so fast, I literally took it out without looking at my list. And it's not in here. So then I saw it and thought I'd forgotten it. And make sure you get the sides of the bowl too. Just so we get the butter fully incorporated. So you don't end up having a clump of butter somewhere. Fine for biscuits, not for biscotti. In a biscuit, it'll just make the layers better. In a biscotti, it'll make it kind of weepy. All right, so now 2 cups flour. And again, I'm not going to use a knife to level this. Everything's going to be okay. Life is going to work out. I've made these a million times before. And I've never measured it exactly. Don't at me. I just kind of shake it. Looks good. Because I'm not using a sifter, we're gonna make sure that when we measure out the raising agent that we kind of shake it over all of the flour to evenly distribute it over the top. Because I don't know if any of you have ever gotten a mouthful of raising agent, but it is not pleasant. 3/2 teaspoon baking powder. Almost as good as sifting, takes way less time. And then before we turn this on, we're gonna use that as a spoon. Yeah, it is bitter. You've had some before. Not fun. So we're just gonna use this kind of like a spoon to mix it a little bit before we turn it on, just so it doesn't blow out all over the place, and then make sure you start on low. And biscotti is such a crunchy cookie that it is gonna look a lot drier than like a normal cookie dough. It's gonna look almost more like a biscuit. Or like a sugar cookie or a shortbread. Well, not quite as dry as shortbread. And I know you're not supposed to do this either, but I always get as much off of these as I can while it's spinning. I just break all the rules while I'm baking and everything turns out, so. All right, before we wipe these off, I'm gonna move the rest of the pumpkin to the empty jam jar because I'm gonna use my spatula for this and I don't wanna get batter in the pumpkin. I love the smell of pumpkin. It's like one of my favorite things about fall. It smells so freaking good. And again, if you haven't tried throwing actual pumpkin in your coffee, 1 tablespoon in the morning. It's so good. And this will last like a week in your fridge. If you don't think you're going to use it by then, you could put it into an ice cube tray and freeze it in cubes. You can use it for pasta or for like Thai curry. Pumpkin and coffee. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Have you not tried it? I've actually gotten pumpkin flavored coffee beans at the store before. Did not taste like pumpkin. Actually adding pumpkin instead of pumpkin flavor or pumpkin syrup, it is so good. All right, so now we're just gonna make sure we have like all the flour and raising agent off the sides. It should be a pretty sticky, but dry sticky dough. And that's it. It's like kind of like that. So I'm kind of just like making this into a big blob, and we're going to cut it in half. And now is the time that if you have dry skin like I do and you wear lotion, wash the lotion off. Your skin will hate you, but your biscotti will love you. I'll be right back. If you're at sea level, I think 350 is probably fine. I'm gonna do 375 because I live a high altitude. So yeah, preheat your oven. If you live close to sea level, 350, otherwise 375. So we're gonna take each half and we're gonna roll it into like a very long like rope. And it doesn't have to be perfect. If you see one rope is thicker than the other one, throw some dough onto the other rope. And we're just putting it in 2 chunks on our baking tray. And we're gonna smooth it out into rectangles, kind of like, if you imagine all the biscotti like pushed together in one row, that's kind of what it looks like on the pan right now. Because we're gonna bake it as rectangles. We're gonna cut it and then we're gonna bake it again. You can either flatten it into rectangles with your hands, or if you don't like getting your hands all sticky, you can also use the spatula. Jan, thank you for the resub. 11 months, my goodness, almost a year. Have a nice cooking stream. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Oh my gosh, Emerald, thank you for the raid. I just saw this. I must have been washing my hands. Welcome, raiders. My name is Brigidas. I usually stream Hearthstone, standard constructed, and also play Battlegrounds, friendly Battlegrounds. We hit 1K viewers on Twitch, so we're doing a special celebratory baking stream today. Hey, Emerald, how are you? Thank you for the raid. Have a great stream. Thank you, thank you. So this is kind of what it looks like right now. We have biscotti almost. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our spatula and we're gonna make this into rectangles. You could also use your bench scraper for this, and then I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Vegan baking stream, it is, Panda. Also, it's really healthy for you. It has all kinds of plant goodness. It's good for your hair and skin and nails. Cooking spicy Hearthstone decks. I was actually playing Relic Demon Hunter last night. I was doing pretty well. Can someone translate? You don't speak Cookish. Okay, so these are, I'm going to flatten them a little bit more. The more you flatten them, they will raise while you're baking. The crispier they will be. So if you like more of a puffy biscotti, you can flatten it less. If you like more of a crunchy biscotti, you can flatten it more. Okay, so here we have our two rectangles. We're gonna do the first bake just like this. Before I put this in the oven, I'm gonna wash my hands. Is an inch thick good? Mine's like a centimeter. An inch might be kind of tall. That might give you like a chewier biscotti. I usually do like between a centimeter and an inch, but that could work. Or you might want to flatten it a little bit more. But if you want to try it for science, I'd be curious. For science. Okay. The oven's almost all the way preheated. We're just baking all the rules, but I don't always wait for the oven to preheat all the way. I just whack it in and then I listen to it when I open the door. So I'm gonna put mine in. If you want to wait, you can. You never wait either. If I were making a cake, I would wait. Like anything soft, I would wait because those are usually a little bit more finicky. But like I said, biscotti is one of the most forgiving things you can make. So we don't have to wait. And we're gonna do two bakes. Oh, before you put it in the oven, I don't sprinkle sugar on top. I know some bakeries do. If you want, you can sprinkle sugar. Just a smidge on top of the biscotti. It will make kind of like a crackle crust. So if you want, this would be the time to do it while it's two rectangles. Yawn. Cookies and frozen pizza are a no wait for you. Yeah, same. And our first bake is going to be 25 minutes. I'm going to set the timer so if we're chatting, I don't forget. And now we wait. This is also a good time if you're using an electric mixer to wash the rotaries, because otherwise they're going to get really sticky. I will leave the other stuff, but I'm going to wash those just so they don't get super crusty. But yeah, you want to set your oven for 350, 25 minutes. And then we take it out for the second bake. I'll be right back. These things are so awesome. MC Baker Bridget dropping recipe lines. Oh, yawn. Oh, did you see the clip, the evidence clip the other day? That was funny. Wait, why am I a rapper, Jan? You went for the greaseproof paper. Good luck. I hope that works. I'm just worried about when you cut it. Are you using a knife or a bench scraper? because when you cut the biscotti, is it going to go through the paper? I've like roasted vegetables where I've accidentally cut the parchment. Now it's preheated. Oh, bread knife? You're using a bread knife. Oh, okay. You love veggies and fruit. Me too. What's everyone's favorite fruit? I think I could exist just off of pineapple. Like if pineapple were a nutritionally complete food, that's all I would eat. I would just eat pineapple. Mangoes, yeah, we're on the same wavelength. Just use your McDonald's hack that your body will be preserved forever. Watermelon, ooh, that's a good one. I love watermelon too, except the seeds. Do you eat the seeds? Some people eat watermelon seeds. Oranges are your favorite? Or Honeycrisp apple. I love oranges too, especially like blood oranges. They have that like slight bitterness. Honeycrisp apple. I can't think of what that tastes like. I haven't had a Honeycrisp in so long. You never eat the seeds. Blood oranges are epic. Yeah, I used to live not by, but like a half-hour drive from this gelato master who actually studied how to make gelato in Italy with like a gelato professional. And people would bring fresh fruit from like their fruit trees in their backyard and he would just make gelato out of it. And blood orange gelato is literally the best gelato I've ever had. Like before you give kiwis one more chance, you should Google when kiwi season is and like only get it then. That probably makes a huge difference because I've had underripe kiwis before and it's totally not the same. It's like a shadow of a kiwi. You love dates too? Me too. I do love dates. It is like candy. They're addictive. It's hard to eat only like 2 or 3. It smells so good in here. Had like 20 acres of peach trees. Ooh, yum. That sounds so good. You can only eat one? Good for you. I don't think I could stop at one. So what did you do with all those peaches, Panda? Did you make like peach cobbler, peach pie? Hey Sharma, how are you? Good to see you. Dude, peach cobbler is my jam. It is, it's biscotti time. We're making biscotti. I forgot that we made that as a nightbot. Biscotti is a keyword. That's so funny. I was wondering why there were all the PogChamps. Building Beast with Hunter. Oh my god, yes. How could I forget about Build-A-Beast RG? That's so much fun. Used a lot of Gul'dan. Oh yeah, I forgot about Gul'dan. He had lifesteal, right? Your favorite what? Sherman, do you play Hearthstone or do you just hang out with us because you like us? I always forget. There's some people in here who don't play Hearthstone. Your favorite Death Knight class in Hearthstone. Oh, not Death Knight class. Death Knight will be a class. Your favorite Knights of the Frozen Throne hero. Some new Death Knight cards revealed a few minutes ago. Nothing too exciting. What did they reveal, Archie? You didn't understand that game, the one with the cards that I play. Okay, that was you. Oh, now I know why. That's so funny. Was Priest good in that era? Yeah, there was Dark Anduin. That's when people used to play something called Raza Priest. And you would play the Anduin hero, Death Knight hero, which changed your hero power to deal 2 damage. Kind of like when you would play Dark Priest. Your hero power is dealing damage instead of healing. But the cool thing about Dark Anduin is that your hero power refreshes. I don't remember if it was every time you play a card or every time you play a spell. One of the two. And then people would play this card called Raza, the Chained. I think it was a 5/5. And for the rest of the game, did it make your hero power 0? And so basically you'd have like you would save up a bunch of cheap spells like Mind Blast and like wasn't there a 1 mana 3 damage spell? And you would just keep refreshing your hero power and doing more damage. You're like, what? She's asking something about my favorite, but what is she asking about? I'm sorry, Sharma. You love Shadow Priest? Yes. Yeah, Leslie, I think that you really like Shadow Priest. You should try it out. It should be in your card collection right now. Problem with Shadow Priest for you is that you're not good with combo decks, but it's not like super combo. It's not like playing Rogue. It's just, learning which cards to save for the end of the game. All right. My spidey sense went off. The oven just beeped. So we're going to take out our biscotti. Make sure you either have an oven mitt or you can use like an old rag. But if you are using a rag, make sure you like quarter it so that you don't burn your hand. I've burned my hand more times than I would like to admit. But usually with old pot holders that are like almost rags. It beeped on us. It's finally preheated. No, it preheated earlier. So we're gonna take it out. I'm gonna have to cut it over there because it's gonna be too hot for the countertop. But basically, we're gonna cut it into thin slices using our bench scraper or a knife. And then we're gonna turn all of the slices sideways because the base was already on the bottom with contact with the pan this whole time. And so we don't want that to burn. So we're gonna flip it sideways to give the previous bottom a break and we'll bake it on the side. So be careful, hot oven hot. And we're also gonna reduce the temperature on the oven for the second bake. So the temperature for the second bake is gonna be reduced by 25 degrees. So I start at 375, so I'm gonna reduce my oven to 350. If you live closer to sea level and you started at 350, you should reduce your oven to 325 for the second bake. And we're gonna do that right away so that has time to cool off. So you should have something that looks like this, like two puffy rectangles, and we're just gonna cut each of these rectangles into smaller rectangles. So I can't turn it as much because now it's not going to stick, but you can see that I sliced the top rectangle into a bunch of little rectangles. We're going to do that the same for the bottom, and then we're going to flip them all sideways. You can almost smell them. They're a little stodgy in the middle. That might be the extra butter that you added, or you might want to bake them. You might want to bake them like an extra 5 minutes before you cut them. Like if I'm looking at mine, they don't have a ton of stodge in the middle. They're going to be a little bit underbaked because they still have half their bake time left. But yeah, if they're like wet, visibly wet, maybe another 5 minutes. So they should all look like this. And we're just gonna take them, they were like this, and we're gonna flip them sideways. Hey Brian, thank you. Thank you, thank you. All right, and then once you have them all laid sideways, we're gonna put them back in the oven. If you haven't yet, make sure you turn your oven down 25 degrees. And then it has like more than half of the bake time left. So we're actually gonna set the timer for 30 minutes this time. Because now that we've sliced the biscotti, the extra steam from the middle can evaporate. So set your timer for 30 minutes. I'm gonna wash my bench scraper and then I'll be right back. Trying to bake along. No matter what happens, we'll figure out something to make with it. I never throw bakes in the bin, even if they don't turn out. When my husband and I watch Great British Bake Off, and people just throw stuff in the bin, we're like, wait, you could have salvaged that somehow. Personally, your science side would tell you not to change a recipe. You follow the instructions exactly, you should get the same thing every time. Yeah, well, you would think that I would think the same way, Archie, because I'm definitely a math person, but I change stuff every single time I make it. I approximate. Maybe that is the mathematical side. I just approximate stuff and it works out. Once you're good at calculus and volumes, you just kind of do whatever and fix it. That's all of life though, right? All of life is approximations. There's some approximations that are better. There are some that are not as good. There. What is it? What is it? Righto, job's done. You want one of those infusers for loose leaf too? Yeah, that'd be nice. I have like one of the little clampies that looks like two spoons that clip together. And then you like scoop the tea with it and you put it in your teacup. I feel like I won something. Shake it, shake, shake it, shake it. Shake it like a Polaroid picture. This stuff is so good. Rice milk is like the OG plant milk. Like even before plant milk was trending, like rice milk, it's like basically horchata, but without the without the cinnamon. It's so good. If you guys haven't tried it, it's like naturally sweet like dairy. This one has 0 sugar added, but it's like the way they process the rice makes it taste sweet. I always just open the oven and I listen to my bake. I know this sounds weird, but if you listen to it, you can hear how much moisture is bubbling through your bake. Usually for like cake or something, you don't want to hear any bubbles because that means there's still enough moisture that your cake could collapse. The biscotti that we're making have a pretty solid structure. So if you hear a couple bubbles, that's okay, but you don't want to hear like a rolling boil. Okay, so mine sounds like it's not bubbling that much anymore. If you can spread the milk on bread, that's the kind you like to drink. I'm gonna just leave the oven open with the heat off. It's called butter. That bun is close to the broiler. The broiler is not on. Thanks for being worried for me though. I turned it off first. There was no flame. This is the hardest part for me. It's waiting for stuff to cool down. Homer Simpson sounds dope. Cheers. You've taken your bricks out of the kiln. Oh no. They smell like they're ready. I'm gonna check these. Ooh, these smell so good. I don't know if you guys can see this, but here are the biscotti. I can't turn the pan sideways anymore because they'll all fall off. And that's it. They look great. Thank you. Your baking tray is way bigger than my baking tray is bigger than yours. Oh no. So you can either like break them and dip them in your coffee, or you can eat them without dipping them. We don't do that in the South, is what Mary Berry would say. It's so good. They're good? You're gonna take a picture? Oh, yay, that's exciting. Did anyone else bake along? If you did, make sure you post your photos in Discord. That's super exciting. That's awesome. They store well, like 2 to 3 days on the counter. I actually think they're the best day 3 because they're the crunchiest. But if they get too crunchy, make sure you break them before you eat them. If they get way too crunchy, you can always just dip them. And now the most difficult part is not eating the whole pan because they're just so freaking good. And not getting the crumbs everywhere because they're very crunchy, which I just did. Well, thank you so much, you guys, for hanging out today. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed having our special baking stream to celebrate 1K followers on Twitch. We'll have to do this for every milestone. I think maybe 2K will be cinnamon rolls. What do you guys think? I just thought biscotti would be fun for the first one because that's what I use for channel points. And people are like, what the heck are biscotti? No one knows. Thank you again for hanging out, you guys. I'm gonna see who we should raid. Wishing all of you a fantastic day and hope to see you soon.